Adam was around trees. His dealing was around the trees. The dealing that God had with Abel was around his sacrifice. The dealing that God had with Noah was around a notice of impending judgment. The dealing that God had with Abraham was around his altars. So if you say Abraham is a man of faith, and then you are also a man of faith, I will need to ask you a question: where are your altars? Because if you don't have altars, there is a deficiency in your faith you may not know now. When you reach the prime of your destiny, that's when you will be caught up in something that only altars can handle. It was Abraham's altars that was responsible for the spirit website that was opened in that location. And there was no way an inheritor of the covenant that his transaction with God had created will not be brought to the same location so that he can understand the length, the dimension of the implication of the covenant that he was carrying. He saw angels ascending and descending. He saw a portal that was secured, and then the supervising personality of his altar of Abraham's altar was standing at the head of the portal. Those are the four things that make up territory. First, if you want to know why a place is the way it is, you need to investigate the altars. How many altars have been put in place, and how many spirits have been attracted to become active in that location on the account of the presence of altars? If you don't know that, you cannot change anything, because it is the altars of Abraham that was responsible for the angelic stronghold. Because the altar was a righteous altar, the spirits that were coming and transacting around that altar were righteous spirits and heavenly beings. But that's not the only possibility that abounds with altars. If the altar is a demonic altar, the orientation of that ladder will be different. The ladder that you saw in the book of Genesis chapter 28 is from earth to heaven. And that's not the only possible orientation that exists. Have you read the scripture when Jesus said, "Upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it"? The gates of Hades, the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. That's, Jesus was using metaphors in his speech. What does he mean by gates?